Drinking Ace of Spade out of plastic cup. I'm on the conference call while I'm sacking up. You see these thigh pads, nigga, clap it up. Clap it up. I'm on the way to the bank and I'm cracking up. That because we rich, 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 yeah, rich, rich, yeah, rich, rich, rich.
All right, y'all, we're back. It's another episode of the Ratchet Wizdom podcast. I'm Asada.
I'm Z Sabri. Y'all already know me though, so.
And it is a very, very, very special episode.
Yes.
This is our Girl Talk edition.
Hey, y'all.
As you can see, we don't have Dub and Nayo today. But
we gonna miss them, but we gonna dive into a whole lot.
Because y'all
tonight.
got the heart lady here today.
That's
a
right,
seasoned
the heart
veteran.
lady. So tell us about you and why you call yourself the heart lady.
My company is called 3 Hearts, 1 Beat, and it's really based off of how I work with my clients, work with the physical heart, the emotional heart, and the spiritual heart. Because the heart is a serious organ that we all take for granted.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
take advantage of and don't really understand the power. The heart is like has a second brain, and it's really what sends the message. And then when you think about it, it's when you have a decision, it's always in your heart. So if I said to you, say me and point to yourself. Say to it. See, first thing she did was go right here because this is our inner being. So 3 Hearts, when I talk to my clients, I want to know how they're doing physically because that affects the relationship and how they talk, what's going on emotionally, and then, of course, the spiritual aspect are more the tools that I give to work with them. But then, you have all 3, you become balanced. So it's 3 Hearts, 1 Beat, and I am the heart lady.
The heart lady.
The heart lady.
So you guys already see why this is a Girl Talk edition. Because could you imagine Nayo and Dub sitting right here having this conversation?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. What is that? What's up with men and running and hiding when it's time to talk about matters of the heart?
Yeah, what is up with that?
Is that a thing? Like, have you noticed that in your generation? Is that what it is? Or
My generation.
I mean,
She tried it. She said, what generation is that?
Okay. But I mean, like when you were growing up, I'm sorry.
No, I am an elder, and
Y'all-
I take that because, the queen
Yeah,
of me.
because
a whole OG.
that's why you in here, because you're wise. You're
But,
wiser than us.
Brothers tend not to get as deep because they want to be cautious on what they say.
Yeah.
And I think it's still a misconception that brothers don't really want to talk about it. But I think that women shut them down so quickly that
Talk
they
about
really are not able to express themselves. And, so I think that.
So you feel like you see that a lot where women are constantly, I won't say constantly, but you see that as an issue within your work?
The communication, of course, when we're talking about relationships, is always about communication. And communication is a skill, but it's really feeling very comfortable with who you are first. Right?
Right.
And so I was recently doing a series of what to ask for, what questions to ask when we're dating. Because when we're starting off our first date, second date, third date, fourth date, now I'm not talking about just talking over the phone and texting, but when we're talking about getting to know the person, there's certain questions that we need to know and get out the way. Your time is valuable and you're investing. And
Right.
we women invest our heart before we even think about it.
That's true.
And we
That's
have to
very
make a
true.
head and heart connection here.
So that's a good thing. Like, okay, because my mom always tells me, like, when you're getting into a new relationship, don't spend your time talking about what you did in your past, who hurt you in the past,
Absolutely.
all of the things that happened to you. You spend so much time telling the person, things that you're trying to protect your heart. So you start telling things that you don't want from them or things that have happened to you in the past so that they know not to do that to you. But inevitably, sometimes you really just perpetuate the same thing in that relationship by sharing those types of things. So what do you say
I think
are
you're right.
questions?
We do try to protect ourselves. And another thing that you said, that we go and talk about the past.
Yeah.
The past is not helping you to move forward. And so really it's about asking those certain questions about the individual. By the 3rd or 4th date, you want to be asking, well, so how do you act when you're angry?
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
you want to start knowing what type of relationship you have with the females in your family.
Yeah.
You know?
How's your relationship with your mom?
Yes.
Those are always
Those are
key.
always just
questions,
kind of
yeah.
questions. And if they're not living with their mom, maybe they grew up with their dad. But then, who do you consider someone that you would go to as a woman in
Right.
your life?
So, or do you even have someone that you go
Right.
to?
And if they
because
don't,
some may not.
then you want to be careful, right?
yeah.
If you don't, then there are certain things. You see, what we do in relationships is set up ourselves for expectations. Right? And so, to me, the dating process, which I know your younger generation do nothing different, because I remember asking my son, I was like, so y'all dating? No, we just kicking it. Okay, so when is it considered dating? I don't know. You know, does it, do they pay? Does it Dutch? It don't make a difference. I don't understand.
I mean, to me,
What dating
there's a
really
saying
means.
that says dating means, or a date is dick at the end.
Oh,
So
my word.
if there's no dick at the end, then I guess
Then
there's
it's
no
not
date.
a date. Wow.
Oh.
Right.
Is that how y'all really feel now?
No,
Because
this
that's
is,
what a
this
man
is just
told me.
probably
So
some
man
stuff that was on
told
social
me
media.
that's what a
What
date
number
is.
date is that?
That's what they said.
No,
That's
they're
what they
saying that
mean.
this is the
Oh,
first
so-
date. Once they pay for your food,
You know,
dick at the end.
you know.
And it's an acronym,
Yeah.
DATE.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I hear you say expectations and how we sometimes bring expectations into the relationship, and that kind of can, cause failure in the end. I wonder, what are your thoughts on like checklists, and when women these days have checklists, or
Right. I'm not too much
that's
into
kind of like
checklists.
expectations, right?
Yeah, it's
In a sense.
expectations in a sense, but I'm not really too with the checklist.
What do you
Yeah.
think
What
about
it
that?
really
Yeah.
is knowing your values.
Yeah.
And then you're looking for the commonality and the shared interests.
Right.
And your values and the characteristics. So it's not so much about the checklist and tick off this. Is it tall, handsome?
Right.
Right, and then I found it interesting that you were talking about the dick
Dick
at the
end.
dick at the end. I think what we haven't done was define our relationships. That's where most of the issues happen.
Correct.
When we
The
don't start
confusion.
off with
I like
good
that.
communication, really learning a little bit more about themselves. Now remember, that's all about intent. If you're
Right.
dating, you want to define what this date is for. Is this date just for fun? Is this a dick at the end of the date? Is it that? Or is it, you know what, this is someone that I want to talk to, that I want to get
And that's why
to
it
know.
would have been
So you
nice
have to
to
define it.
have a little bit of balance here, because I feel like only the men can kind of speak on that, because a lot of times we are always looking for that clarity.
Right.
Like we're constantly asking them, like, okay, what are your intentions? Do you want to just do this? Are you just trying to smash? And a lot of times I feel like men are just not comfortable enough saying, listen, I don't
just
want
want
this or
this.
that.
Yep.
I just want this, because they lead you on to think one thing or feel one way, and then they're surprised when you're asking, or then it's become nagging, because you're like, okay, so what are we doing, where are we going? And it's like, oh, we was just kicking it. Okay, well, what does that mean after 6 months?
Right.
How are we,
Yeah,
are we
they're
still just
comfortable.
kicking it? And
Yeah.
then it's like, and if you don't want to do anything, then honestly, you're blocking traffic, baby. Move
Yeah.
out the way for somebody who wants something a little bit more, because
Then you are the determination. You are the
Then
determined
that's when
one.
you have to set your
Because-
boundaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It is
absolutely.
usually the women are the ones who rule the relationship. By that I say we're the ones who's going to say yes. I want to go forward. No, I don't.
Right.
This is why at the beginning you start asking the questions, but you don't ask the questions one after the other and pile them up.
Right.
That's just too much.
right.
They can't.
They can't take too much.
They can't take too
It's
much.
not an
That's when
They don't like the
interrogation.
questions.
It's not an
Nagging.
interrogation.
Now, you're
That's when it
supposed to
becomes
know
nagging, correct.
already, but during that dating phase, that first is when you're going to be asking, well, define a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? So once they give you what that definition is, then you already know where you're going.
Correct.
You see, so it's the questions that you
And
ask,
how you
the
ask
quality of the questions, how you're asking
Right.
the question.
So
is what's
essentially,
really-
it's like put all your cards on the table right now. Like let's
no,
be.
not necessarily put all your cards, and you don't have to be so vulnerable, because you do want to be cautious. As you said, we've all had challenges, and so we're all in protecting ourselves. But it is asking those questions that matter to you.
Yeah.
So it's exploring your values. Is this someone who's making the money that you want that is going to complement you, right? Is this someone who's career-wise? Is that something that, hey, I feel like I can support?
Okay.
Is this someone who is family-oriented? Because that might be a big value on you. So
Right.
when I'm having couples that are just coming, that's what we discuss. Where are your values? And then we talk about how do we ask these questions. If someone is just talking over you, and you're not getting a chance, you already know. They show up how they are, and we think that we're going to change them,
That's
and vice
true.
versa.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So
That's
you know,
important.
That
Not trying
we
to
cannot
change
think
people.
that we are going to try to change our
People
partner.
don't
But what we
change
do
for
is
us.
enhance.
Yeah.
Or for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can enhance.
Yes.
And we can encourage, and we can motivate. But if this is just too much work, then that does come to like, I'm trying to change you, and,
Right.
and they feel that,
And
they pick up
and
that
they
vibe.
fear that. They're like, I'm good on
Accept
that.
me
Yeah.
for who I
Yeah,
am. Because
accept me for
remember,
who I am.
You want them to accept who you are.
Because it feels too much like they're in a cage, like they're
Yeah.
having to be one way.
and remember,
that's not who they
most
are.
men's nature is the chase.
Yes.
Right, so you want to keep them interested,
Yeah.
and you want to challenge their mind, and you want to discover what is sexy to them.
So you've been married for how long?
You
I'm like, let's go right
Yeah,
into it.
you're gonna run right into it. Yeah, I've been with my husband for over 45 years.
That's what's
Wow.
up.
Yeah, and we have
Congratulations
five,
to
Thank
you all.
Yeah.
That's yay.
Yeah,
That's
five adult children.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
it's beautiful.
with that, I'm not one of those coaches that says I can tell you because I've been divorced 3 times.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I can talk to you because I've done the research for myself,
Absolutely.
on myself, and I do the work.
Right.
And my husband does the work, and we're really
I like
conscious
that.
about how we talk in each other's feelings. And I think that that is one of the things that helps keep us together is that if there is a disagreement, that we're going to talk about it. And sometimes we can't talk about it right then because we're in our feelings, but we know, hey, I notice your face, I notice your action. And then sometimes he'd be like, oh, so we arguing now? Let me know.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just breaking that up
Yeah.
can calm you down and make you double think, make you check.
Yeah.
So
Look
what
at
are
yourself for
some
a second.
styles or ways to handle conflicts? Because I
Yeah.
think that everybody has sometimes different approaches. Like some people in a relationship are like, I gotta address this right now. I can't let it linger. Some people are like, yo, give me a minute. I don't want to talk. And when two people are very different in how they feel about that, like how do you really maneuver in that space?
So good. That goes right back to what I said about the questions that you ask
In the
Okay.
beginning.
at the beginning, so that you already know that this is the type of person that they need time to process what they want to say, right? Or there's some people who just want to get everything out on the table,
Yeah.
right? And there are some that usually run, right, and don't want to face it. So you have to know what you are ready to deal with. But as far as conflict, it all goes back to really understanding what is it that you really want. You know, some people are in an argument because they want to win it and they think that they're right and they have to be right. Or are you in this having this conflict because you really want to have a deeper understanding? And it's all about the question that you ask and where you are. So sometimes if you're in a heated argument, sometimes it's just a shift of energy. Sometimes you may sit down.
Yeah, I was going
If
to
you
ask
sit
what are some
down,
of the
yeah,
things that
if
you do
sit
to tap
down,
in.
You can change. Or if it's you see it's getting a little heated, you may just, okay, babe, I get you. Or say, you know what? I'm really pissed right now. Can we talk later? Now, when you say can we talk later, you want to be able to define that. My rule is you don't let 3 days go past.
Right.
It gets cold, but you want if it's something that's really important to you, then you take time to think about it. But the thing is that we don't ask ourselves, what is it? What is the outcome? What do I really want to know? There you go.
Or what I'm really trying
Yeah.
to get
Get
out of
across,
this
right.
argument.
And then another thing that the couples don't do is really have that dialogue where they're really understanding.
Right,
what you
listening
see.
for understanding.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
It's
people just want to
listen
prove
for
their
a
point.
response.
And that's
yeah, like
And
no
so-
understanding.
right.
It's literally a debate.
So a good, literally a debate. So the good thing is, one of the best things is to just go ahead and ask, or say, "You said this. Is that what you meant?" Because sometimes what you hear, they don't mean that at all.
Yeah.
So it's always good to say, "This is what it means to me when you say this.
And you know what? I learned that in a conflict resolution class one time where we repeated back to each other like what it was that we heard them say. Because that's really an effective way to assure that you understood what they were saying.
That is
And a lot of people
listening.
joke about that. Like, it's things that go around that say, like, women never hear what a man really is really saying. Like, he might say, no, we're not going to go to Miami this weekend. And what the woman heard is, you don't love me. You don't want to take me nowhere.
With me. Right.
Or whatever. And it's like, nah, I just said, or I mean, and I think that goes both ways, honestly.
Yeah.
Men can do the same exact thing. But it seems like a common thing that I see on social media a lot. Like, my wife thought I meant this, or my wife saying this when really all I said was, not this time, baby.
And we just take things too personal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about you. You know, the one thing that makes couples really work is when they realize it's not about the individual, it's about the relationship.
Yeah.
It's about the us in it. It's about the we, what we're going to do. I know you all have your individual things that you want to do, but it really is, at the end of the day, are we going to solve this conflict because we want our relationship to work?
Yeah. And
Or
then,
is it about me, just the individual?
Sure,
You don't get
yeah.
me. You don't understand me. If that happens, why don't you say, help me to understand you?
So what do you think
Understand
about
better.
relationships that have a lot of constant conflict to resolve? Like, are those relationships worth fighting for? Just because two people could keep deciding, yeah, we're fighting, but I'm still here. And it's like, that's cool based off
not
of
cool.
what
It's
you
unhealthy.
just said. But exactly, it becomes unhealthy when you just keep perpetuating the same
cycle. So the one individual, I do believe, can change the relationship. So now, remember, it's still about accountability to yourself.
Absolutely.
And so if you're noticing that I'm talking about this over and over and over again, either you're not being clear and they're not listening, and you might have to change the way that you want the outcome. So sometimes it's just about, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over, it ain't working, then you need to do it a different way. And that's when the hot lady comes into play.
Right,
Sometimes you just need a mediator, you know. So I'm not saying counseling, because, you know, guys get upset, counseling and therapy. I don't want them to know my business. It's not about that. It's really learning more about yourself so that you can be the best person for your partner. But
Did
then
you
again,
hear that, man? Say it one more time.
And like checking in too, like understanding who you are in a relationship too. Like not who you are, but just choosing each other. I find that that's been like something that I have to realize that men, well, I won't just say men, but it can sometimes be one-sided. Like what Asada was saying, like one person could be working on it, and then the other one could be saying that they're working on it, but not actually working on it.
Yeah.
Whatever the main issue is that you have to be repetitive and keep, you know,
So
reinforcing.
right.
So what do you do in those situations when
well, oftentimes we don't
you're
tell
the only
them what
one?
we want. We don't tell them what we want. We say, okay, you hurt my feelings. No, you need to
But
say,
then
you hurt my feelings.
in what
So
way?
And this is how you made me feel. So the next time, could you do whatever?
Right.
And so we have to put the ask in. And I think that's what misses a lot in the communication. The ask. How do you want them to treat you? How do you want? Once you have the ask, then they get a better understanding. Does that make sense? Put the ask in it. What do you
I like
want?
that. Yeah. What do you need
But
from
they
me
don't
so
know.
that you
don't
can?
you hear men all the time say, I can't read her mind. I don't know what she wants. Because you didn't say it. And if you don't know what you want, why are you expecting them to know what you want?
Correct.
say,
That's
you know,
a good point. Wow.
Yeah, you know, there's this other therapist, Esther Perel, and she talks about marriages, how they were in the past and how they are now, and how that we want a partner who just fulfills everything for us, but we're not living up to that. You know, my husband even says that a lot of times the ladies want all of this, but they're not giving anything. So they're not giving what they want.
Well, you know, right now in our day and age, we deal with this really drastic ratio thing, right?
Okay.
So, like earlier, you made a point that the woman is pretty much in control, but a lot of times for me, it feels like Whereas when we get into the relationship, we can kind of take our womanly domain and have a sense of control. But it seems like men dictate more so the nature of the relationships, because we can say we want marriage and X, Y, and Z, but we can't propose to ourselves, and we can't make a man be ready to do things that they're not ready to do. So in that aspect, it's like they're, the ball is in their court, they're leading, and it's like you kind of find yourself, oh, let me secure the ring. What can I do? What can I do? I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm putting all of this in it, trying to get this man to want to move to another level with me. When, do you think that is what it should be like, or?
I think it should be a natural flow.
Yeah.
I think that if you are having this conversation and not so much about marriage, I think that it naturally comes. That it's time. Early on when I first started coaching, I had a couple come to me and they said, I asked the guy, I said, so why do you want to get married? And his reply was, well, we've been dating for 2 years and she's been hinting and think it's about time that we do that. And so I asked the woman, I said, so why do you want to get married? She said, because, I really love him. He makes me feel secure. It's a lot of fun and all of these things. And when she heard him say, well, I guess it's time, all she could do was cry.
Yeah, because it wasn't like, because I love her so much and she means the world to me.
No terms of endearment.
I don't see my future
without her.
Without her, yeah.
Like
you said the key. You're starting to see the future with the individual. He didn't see the future with her. It was obligatory,
And he felt obligated. Yeah,
it was an obligation. So don't let the man feel that they are obligated. These are things that you talk about early in the dating stage.
Right.
Is marriage in your future? What type of woman do you think would make a good wife? You want to ask them certain questions that you're now, when you say that list, you're checking it in your head. Okay, his values match up to mine. He doesn't want to get married until he is financially secure. So is he working towards that?
Yeah.
And sometimes one of the tricks that I use is sometimes you're watching a show or movie and you say, oh, so what you think about that?
Yeah.
Right. When you do that, that's how you sneak it in. And
they don't know. They don't know to hit them.
It don't need to be so.
It doesn't have to be heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be heavy. You can.
It doesn't. It could be casual.
Yes. And
all right, ladies,
so
these are jewels.
These are
jewels, ladies. I mean, come on.
Take it from the vets. Okay.
I remember you were asking me earlier about love languages.
Yes, I wanted to talk about those.
And so
what do you think about
most people
love languages?
Understand what the 5 love languages are, and there probably are a little bit more, but the author, he talked about that you should have your quality time. Actually, it's something that I do for my clients just to see where they are and if it really matches up, and it's been pretty accurate for me. But quality time and service and do they like words of affirmation, and what's the other one? Words of affirmation. Gifts.
Yeah.
Gift
Acts of service, I think.
Yes. Gift giving and acts of service. So when we think about that and you read it and you take the test, it's not just about, okay, so my love language, the last one was physical, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Touch.
Right. The
Physical touch, that's right.
And so it's not about just what you are. Oh, mine is physical touch. It's like, okay, your partner needs to understand this so they can speak your language.
Sure.
Right.
You need to understand their love language so that you are speaking. So, for instance, you were talking about the person who wanted to go on the trip to go to Miami and whatnot.
Right.
He may be showing his love by taking her out and whatnot, and she's not understanding because she would rather you tell me.
Yeah.
So it's really about, when you do the love language, it is understanding how you love, but then also is understanding how your partner is loving, and that you are both meeting that need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, Zaki, do you know your love languages?
I think mine's are like a physical touch, for sure, and then kind of like words of affirmation. It would be like my second one.
Yeah, so then if you understand that about yourself, then you see how that plays out in your relationship.
Yeah.
And so it's just a simple conversation on talking to you. When you touch me, that feels so good. And when you let them know how that makes you feel, they tend to do it more often. And
I can see that.
tend to touch them more. So you can tell someone's love language without them even taking the test or doing. Just if you kind of know them, you'll
You know what their
understand.
love
yeah,
languages
you know
are.
that.
Exactly.
Oh, he's always doing this for me, and he's always doing that for me. So service. And then the woman says, "You never, you're always going out. You never spend time with me at home." Those are the
Quality
key words.
time.
That's right. Those are the keys.
So you just have to make time to make sure you're
Yeah.
speaking your partner's
Love
love
language,
language,
yeah.
and be in a relationship that is
That your partner
catering to
understands yours, too, as well,
Because if
yeah.
not, then you're constantly complaining about where you feel like something is lacking.
And so that's where the conflict is.
Yeah,
right?
that's where the conflict
And we
begins.
just need to tell them what is going on. We wait too long.
Yeah.
We wait till it piles up, and then we explode, right?
So do you believe in like life partners living separate, or just not necessarily living separate, but maybe have another home that they might,
So again,
have as an additional home, but that be a place or a space that you can
so are they
kinda
married
vacation.
or not married?
They're married, not in the traditional sense.
Okay, so
but
they're not traditionally married.
Right, mhm.
Okay, so then that begins at, you talk about that from the very beginning.
Yeah, so if they're just
That
upfront about it,
that shouldn't be
yeah.
something that's sprung.
Yeah, because I
onto
think
you.
it's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I mean, you
if
can't
you
say what's right or wrong for a
right.
relationship.
They might
but what
say,
works
hey,
for you. Right.
every so often I want a little break. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a cheating break or a pass for this, but maybe it's I really need space. How men have a man cave. I
Yeah,
mean,
I just
that's
need
an
my little-
extreme version. That might not
Right.
work for me,
Right.
knowing that my partner is in another house. But I'm definitely the queen of attention because I want space and attention.
Yeah.
And even though that it sounds funny and people laugh about it, but dead ass serious, I need some
Need
attention.
space and
I want to
attention,
know
right.
you.
New terminology, attention. I'll make sure I get that one.
Duly noted.
I'm giving you some today. Some attention.
Right. And so then that goes into the maturity of the relationship.
Yeah.
All right. And that you made it clear. So there are no insecurities.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yes.
No insecurities. So if you say you need your space, they should be able to respect that. But you've said that, and they've seen that. You've demonstrated that all along. You just don't just all of a sudden it happens.
And you have to have a certain level of respect, I think, in your relationship so that your partner's mind doesn't even have to go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't even have to worry about this because I know that my partner is solid. Or you know what I mean? You know.
I mean, if
that their
trust is not-
intentions
yeah.
are A1, and we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about
So
like,
if trust
anything.
is not the
Right.
foundation, then, again, it always goes back to how you define the relationship and where you are now. And I think that's what a lot of the younger generation don't really define it.
Right.
And some couples get together because of circumstance. Oh, she's pregnant, so now we have to live
Yes.
together. Oh, well, my rent
It's expensive.
My lease is up.
That's the thing. My lease is up, so but you're here most of the time anyway,
my
so then
lease
you might
up.
as well come live with me. Those are not
Yeah.
good matching.
Those are not ways to because it
start
needs to be more
relationships.
intentional.
You're thrown
in
It
it.
needs to be more
You're
intentional.
you're definitely
I
thrown
want
in it.
You here. You want
Yeah.
to be here. Let's
You're
do
moving
this
in
together,
because I
not
want to
by
see
chance.
you when I wake up. Like
Yeah.
that's the only reason why I'm asking you to move in. No
Because
other
all
reason.
those other reasons
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, ugh, I'm tired of seeing you when I
Uh-huh.
wake up. After a while,
Wow.
yeah.
So so doesn't that go back to the questions that you ask
In the
when you are
beginning.
starting to learn the person?
Yeah.
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 And it could be a simple question as, so if we were dating for 6 months, and when do you think is a good time to start living together? Is that something that you ever think about, or does it flow naturally? You have to ask questions that are thought provoking, so that you see where they're coming from. Then you're not hurt. These things are not a surprise because
Yeah.
you've already seen it.
Yeah.
You've asked it. You already know a little bit more about it.
So let me ask you a question. So these days we do have like, have you ever heard of Kevin Samuels? Or
Yes, I have,
Okay.
yes.
Oh,
So
Lord.
there's this whole culture of what do you bring to the table?
Yes,
Right.
Lord.
So like. That's what the men are asking today. Like, what are you bringing to the table? I'm the provider. I'm the man. I know how to,
I'm a high
keep my
value
home.
man. Now they calling
Exactly.
themselves high value
Right.
men.
So
If they-
high valued men,
So what
because
are
they
you-
make a certain amount of money?
basically.
Okay.
Correct. And so what are you bringing to the table? What do you think about men that say that?
And then
Because that's what.
and then they try to, sorry, not to cut you off, but they also try to make it seem like don't say sex and don't say cooking because
No, you're not bringing to the table because
Yeah.
they can do that
They
too.
could do that
Right.
too. Yeah.
Right. And so then I think it goes back to the values. And what is it that you want in a woman? You know, and what is it that you bring in a man? If it's all about the finances, do you really have a solid relationship? What do you
Yeah.
mean, what are you bringing to the table? What are you looking for? What is it that you want in a relationship? What are you looking for in a woman? How do you feel supported? You know, what makes you motivated? So the women we just have different roles.
Yeah.
And so it's not about what do you bring to the table, because it's
we
true.
are the table.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. So if you say
Holding up
if you
steady, boy.
define that you're in a relationship, then you are the table, as you said.
Yeah.
If you've defined that this is a relationship and we're going to try and make this work, then what do you mean? What do you bring into the table? Each
Yeah.
of you need to bring your own selves.
Right.
Yeah.
Forget about
What
the-
are you bringing
forget
to
about
the table?
superficial stuff. You know,
Right.
forget about the
Because if you
superficial
took it
stuff.
all away, where would you be? You know what I mean? And would you actually be able to be with that person if you got money now and you lost it all, or
Would you still be with
Right.
if you
Would you
suffered an
still-
illness
exactly.
or an injury or
Right.
anything, you're left
That's right.
paraplegic? Do you have a person that is going to support you
Or
through
not.
that?
Right.
Are they going to
sure.
be there for you, or are they going to turn away from you?
Yeah, so your
Because-
high dollar value man could lose the high dollar at any time. Then what? Then he's going to see what you bring to the
Yeah.
Right.
See what you're made of.
Right, you know, and I think we were talking about this the other day, that when you talk about money, that the woman feels that these, you know, y'all young ladies now feel as though that if you don't have the money, if you can't pay the bills, then what you know, what are you here for? Or if I'm giving you sex, then you know you're supposed to pay the bills.
Right,
And
right.
so, you know, my generation would definitely call that prostitution.
They would, because money is not in exchange for sex, and sex is not in exchange for money. Okay.
High class whore. No.
I mean, really. I mean,
That was a
really. So,
fine.
you know, again, it becomes the definition.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. Is you want to go into a relationship with an intention. If you define where you are, then you won't get hurt. You will stay protected. So if you know that, hey, this is just my sex buddy and this is how it's going to be, then no. When things start to shift, you need to start asking.
Yeah.
You need to start telling, hey, I'm having real feelings for you right now. And, you know, if that's not where they're at, then you have to let it go.
True that. So
Men, just be honest from the
Basically.
gate. Look,
Women
I'm always
too.
talking about
A lot of women need to be honest from the gate.
Yeah.
They're not. You know, I think men probably are more honest in the relationship than the women.
And I think too, a lot of times
Really?
we as women do put a lot of pressure on men when it comes to finances. And I think that I notice that men have a lot of pressure and they feel like, what is my value outside of providing for you? Like, what you know what I mean? So I think it's important to,
I think a man really likes a woman who can hold her own.
yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
that can be independent.
independent if he needed her to. Yeah.
And then they're a little bit more, you know what? I know you got it, but I'm
let
gonna
me
do
get
this for you.
And
you know
allow
what,
it.
man?
Yeah.
that's
That's not
appreciated.
control.
That's absolutely
Right.
You
appreciated.
can allow it, but you still, you know, my mother always taught me, you know, you put away. And you
Yeah.
have your little something
On the side.
Have
for the
some on the
rainy
side,
day.
correct?
You know, you're
Because
ready.
for a rainy day, and if all that goes to crumbles, we will have your back. Because we
So
done been
do
putting
you
it to the side.
Do you
Yeah.
think in relationships that manipulation is kind of a natural occurrence? Like, do you think of manipulate? Because a lot of people say things like, "Oh, he's manipulating you," or "She's manipulating you," but when you think about it, sometimes it seems like manipulation is kind of a natural thing that people do with
Give me
their
an
relationship.
example when you say that.
So, I mean, for an example, and I'll take this from a popular culture example. Jasmine Sullivan is a singer. She has an album. And on
Yeah.
her album, she's kind of talking with, like, it's like a girl's powwow, kind of like
Yeah,
this. And she was like, yeah. And she was like, basically, sometimes if I want something from my husband, I might give him some sex, or I might do this, or I might do that just so I can get whatever that might thing might be, or I know I want to go out, it's girls night, I don't want him calling me, I don't want him bothering me, so I do X, Y, and Z to make sure that these things are out the way. But is that manipulation?
Is that being truthful?
It's truthful in a sense,
In
right?
what sense? You are using them. You're playing.
It's a little
how is that
toxic.
really the basis? How is that really the basics of the relationship? Why can't you just say, "Hey, hon,
Right.
we having a girls' night out," you know? And so that's what we're going to do, and there should be no issue. Why do you feel as though you got to have
Give him
sex and sweet?
something,
He is
right.
not a child.
Yeah.
He is not a child. You do not have to manipulate your man to get what you want.
And
Why?
then there should be the freedom between you and your mate where it's like you should be able to openly communicate with him what you need and want, and he shouldn't be able to tell you no, or vice versa. She
Yeah,
shouldn't be able to tell
absolutely.
you no, you can't do what it is that you want to do, like because in a sense that's too much control.
Yeah.
And
you know,
you
that's
don't
a,
want
that's
that.
that's a real big hot topic.
It is.
I'm like,
when you say
I don't
no,
want all that
no.
control.
Now remember, the man can say no. I prefer you not to go out with those ladies, and let him explain why. Now it's up for you to use your discretion. There's
Yeah.
a give and take there,
Right, okay.
Because what is the basics of that? Is that he's looking at your security, right? He's looking at the group that you're
That
in, and
becomes
a lot of
to
those
feel
things. It's not
controlling,
really
though,
about
right?
no. I wouldn't say it's about controlling. It's about preserving what we have, and men have a sense of what it is that's out there. They have a sense of that, but we
Okay.
just want to be, oh, I'm going out there, I'm, wearing my dress up to here, and I'm looking all sexy and whatnot. And men know that, hey, you look good, so of course other men gonna be looking at you up and down. Where you going? Nah, I know the type of dudes that are hanging out there. I don't want my woman there. That's not
guess that's
control.
not
That's
controlling.
concern. That's care. It's
But
not about
but it
control.
ends up feeling like control
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, I just want to go out and do this, and I want to wear this dress because I'm grown and I can do that.
Right. You both are two grown people.
I
so
get you. I get
shouldn't
you.
be able
And
to
that's
tell
a,
you.
That's a new thing, but where
Nah.
does the respect come into the relationship there?
Well, give us some food for thought. Why
Okay,
don't
I'm
you?
like, well, let me get some takeaways.
Yeah, give us
Because,
some food.
I think
Yeah.
it's all about mutual respect here and really understanding what makes you say this and get a greater understanding. I remember that there was a time that I wanted to go hang out with my friends, and they were mostly single. And so you go and you hang out with your single girlfriends, and you get your little drink on, and they're up there and they're dancing around, and the guys are coming and they dance, and you're the married one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
Acting
going
single.
up there and doing all what they doing.
You
Yeah.
can't do that. You can't
That's
move
true.
like that.
So,
That's true.
that's
Yeah.
also an issue. But,
That's a good
this whole
point.
control thing, I think is how you perceive it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not
Perception
about the
is
control.
everything.
It's about allowing him to be the man in your life and showing you that this probably is not what I would want for
And
my woman.
considering his concerns.
And really, yeah, that's hard because I hear that a lot. What I want for my woman is X, Y, and Z, and it becomes kind of like a battle for me because it's like, okay, that might be what you want for your woman, but this is the woman in front of you. So do you want this woman or do you want another woman that is more like what you want for your woman?
feels like he's trying to
what I
change
mean?
you.
Because then it's almost like you have to change. But then I get
Yeah.
like as a mature woman, you're gonna adjust and adapt when you have a good
So is
partner.
it about you?
Right,
Or is,
yeah.
is it about you or is it about the relationship?
Right.
That's the.
And
that's-
if- and if this
that's
is the
the
person
question
you're
that should go.
choosing-
Do
That
I want to
part.
be happy in this relationship? And maybe it's another scenario, and you go. So I think it's the way you perceive it. Oh, he's trying to control me and tell me that I shouldn't be
Yeah.
wearing this, and I no. We say, well, what you can ask again. It goes back to the beginning of how he's treating you or she's treating you at the beginning of the relationship. You already get a sense of what they would like. Now, if they already know and it was fine from them from the very beginning that you always hang out with your girls, you always do what you
I
can't,
mean,
you
so
know, when
even
did
if
the
that
change come
was the
about?
case, you don't think that eventually, while you're in a relationship, you should, you should cut some of that back?
Every couple is different, right?
That's true.
So it may work for you, but
That's
it may
true.
not work for me. And as long as both of you are fine with it, you cannot be comparing yourself and looking at, other relationships and what they're doing. And social media is a beast on that. Well, they're doing this, they're doing that. Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
Because we're not
and then
there.
it gets into your relationship.
That's a
Wow.
fact.
And so you've got to leave that alone and work with what you working with.
So
Yeah.
before we wrap up,
Yes.
we knew that we were having
you
you
gotta
on,
go.
the Heart Lady
Yes.
on, and so we allowed our followers on social media to send us some questions or something for the love doctor. So
This sounds like we getting to get ratchet for the ratchet.
A little bit. A little
we gotta
bit.
have some ratchet, you know.
A little ratchet. So, we only have time for one today, but this person shall remain anonymous. But it was a hetero male, and he had this to ask. My wife told me that my dick is too small when she was shit-faced drunk. It's been bothering me ever since. Do I say anything? I never thought my dick was tiny. I'm about 5 inches. We were drunk the other night and started to have sex. Within about 30 seconds, she wanted me to use her toy. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me I'm too small, and when she gets wet, she can't feel me. I just felt so demoralized all at once. Should I talk to her about it or just let it go?
So we always talk about it, right? You are talking about it, all right? So
I'm sorry, not
I'm
to laugh at
wondering-
you, baby.
No.
Not to
I'm
laugh.
wondering, why are you even measuring it? Number one.
First of all,
Right. Is
let's
it
start
doing
there.
its job?
Why
Is it
do
doing
you
its
know
job?
your
feel
inches?
as
Did
though
you
you
really
need
pull
to?
out a ruler and like measure
That's a good
yourself?
question.
Why
Like,
are you
knew
even
why do you know
that
that?
it
He
was
gave us
5.
the inches.
I mean, why?
He probably measured
And then
it when
number
he was a
two,
teenager.
didn't he just say that she was shit-faced drunk?
He did say that.
So that may be how she feels during that.
Well, they say a drunk man
mind sees
tells
a
no
sober
tales.
thoughts.
But it's not. But that's not really true all
Yeah,
the
that's
time,
not true all
because
the
we
time.
do
Because
say
I've said
things that we
some
don't
wildness while
mean,
drunk. So
right?
Yeah.
If I
Yeah,
said something
so-
to you while I was drunk and it was too crazy, just forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that it bothered him because I think for all men that is their pride. So it's gonna still keep on egging him on until he gets
Yeah.
some clarity.
That's
now
true.
he can choose to say she was drunk. She don't know what she's talking about, and it's not about as they say the length is the move, right?
That's
and
true.
how you make the person feel.
Yeah, real talk, y'all.
You know,
Men,
and
emotion and
has,
that
it's not about the size.
right, and have toys been part of their sexual
Let it be known.
act?
That's
If,
true.
if they've
small.
used toys before, so then what's the issue?
Please
It's
your
about
partner.
pleasing.
Yeah,
please
It's
your
about pleasing
partner.
each other. So I think that
Like-
he took it very personal, which
Yeah.
most men will. But then I'm concerned about why you even measuring it.
Because clearly there's
I
some
mean, it's-
insecurities
yes.
there already, and she just
And
kind of
we
tapped
just
on
remember
them.
we talked about these expectations and
Right.
so forth before.
That's an example
To me,
of
that's kind of
someone
crazy.
not,
I'm
like,
sorry, brother,
defining
but
in the beginning.
it's about satisfying and knowing what satisfies her.
Absolutely.
And if a toy satisfies her during the time when she's drunk, then get with it.
That's what it do. That's what it
Absolutely.
do. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it from the
You
Love
heard
Doc.
it here on the
Y'all
Ratchet
heard
Wisdom
it.
podcast,
Okay.
baby.
So yeah.
Well, we want to thank you so very
Thank you.
much for coming on and sharing with us
been
all
a
of your
pleasure.
wisdom. I'm so grateful to know you on a personal and professional level. You've shared so much with me that has helped me out tremendously. So, people, if you just need someone to talk to, emotional things, just any space where you may want some outside
That's right.
opinions, non-judgmental, just maybe not your friends, not your mom, this is definitely a resource.
That you can
So let
use,
people
for
know
sure.
where they can find you, where they can get in contact with you.
Shay.
So it's Ask the Heart Lady. That's THEE, the, not the Heart Lady.
Heart Lady.
Yeah, and I believe on Instagram it's the same, the Heart Lady, and on Facebook, the Heart Lady. So
It's
Absolutely.
been
all about
such
the
a
heart.
treat. Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you. So I hope your viewers did get some tips, and I think the things that I want to define what you want, know the intention when you get into this relationship. Once you define it, make sure both of you are on the same page.
Absolutely.
And when you know that you're on the same page, like you said, every couple of months, don't badger your man or your woman about the same questions. Don't judge what happened in the past. If you've been through relationship challenges in the past and you're seeing that you're having the same type of issues, it's you. It's not them. It's you. And then that's when you come and you talk to someone like me that will
Absolutely.
help you to understand your cycle and your pattern, because we attract what we need for ourselves, for our own personal growth. And our mate is there to complement us.
Absolutely.
Right?
I like
and
that.
to help us to be the better us, and vice versa. And so when you know that this relationship is lasting, is when that you can grow together. And you both
Absolutely.
have the same type of aspirations. And you don't have, just because he likes football and you don't, that doesn't mean you don't share interests. You share interests in other ways. Or you have them teach you so that you can at least be a supportive partner. And a lot of brothers come to me, I don't feel supported. Well, what does support mean and feel to you? So it's all about asking those questions.
Love that.
Thank
This is a
you.
perfect way for us to close out February Love Month, Black Love Month, All Love Month.
That was free, y'all. All of this was
All
free.
of this is free.
Okay.
So y'all, I hope men and women really tune into this episode and get something and find somebody and love somebody.
Yep.
This is Ratchet Wizdom.
Ratchet Wizdom.
We're
Yes.
out.
All right.